Yes, we've come to the last talk for the course, and congratulations if you've managed to stay on the course so far. So today's topic is meditation, one of the core practices of Buddhism. We've said a lot of our seeing is driven by the three fires of wanting something, which is desire, or wanting to get rid of something. So it could be aversion or anger or ill will or jealousy. And the third fire, that of delusion, avidya, ignorance, not really knowing the way things really are, or the way we see a reality in our everyday world is somehow flawed. So with these three fires, the world that we see is distorted, but on the other hand, we do have an inherent capacity to act in accord with the situation that we are in, and to be able to see the true nature of reality as it is. So how do we begin to discern that our seeing is distorted? How do we know what it is like to be at one with the circumstances as they are? And the tool that is used is meditation. And meditation forms the very heart of Buddhism. So Piyadasi, one of the authors I've recommended, says, meditation is a state of mental purity where disturbing passions and impulses are calmed down so that the mind becomes unified and collected and enters into a state of clear consciousness and awareness. Now, in our everyday life, we hear of meditation, particularly these days, being used for all sorts of purposes. For example, for stress relief, to increase productivity at work, as various types of therapy. But as far as Buddhism is concerned, while all these benefits may come about, the primary purpose of meditation is to gain tranquility of the mind, and that is called samatha. And then in this calmness, to get insight into the way things really are. And that part, the inside part, is vipassana. And the purpose is to gain unshakable deliverance of the mind so that the mind is not overcome by mental defilements. So how do we meditate? It should be remembered that although in this lesson we are describing the technique, it is like talking about playing the piano or talking about playing a sport. The only real way is to actually do it rather than talk about it or read about it. It is a practical skill to be acquired and refined. And the other thing is we must not expect quick results. For meditation is there to bring about a real transformation of how we view the world around us. And it also transforms us, and all that takes time. Unless someone is very far advanced into their seeing, we are talking about years of practice, really. Now, when we take up the practice of meditation, even if we do meditation by ourselves at home, ideally we should join in with a group on an occasional basis, say at least once a week, if that is possible, or otherwise during regular retreats. And, while the pandemic is going on, and although, I had not known about doing meditation online, it seems to have worked generally. And so, when I say we should be part of a group occasionally, so it could be online as well, if that's the only access you have to a group. But having said that, if you are able to physically sit with a group, that is even better. So there is something about doing meditation with other people. We somehow get energy by doing meditation with other people. And, generally, people who do meditation on their own find that it fizzles out after a while. So quite important to do it in a group setting. It could be online, as I say. Now, for the practice to be of real value, the practice should be a regular one. So nothing much will come of it if one does it only when one feels like it, or if one, does hours and hours of practice for a couple of weeks and then does nothing for another couple of weeks and then does a lot after 2 weeks. Really, nothing much will come of that. It should be a regular practice which should be built into a daily routine. So it should be at the same time every day, ideally. It could be different times at weekends, for example, but say weekdays should be one time and weekends to suit your circumstances. But on the whole, stick with the same time. And, pick the time that would work for you. So for some people, it may work to do it early in the morning. Other people, it may work better to come back from work, have dinner, and then do some meditation. So whatever works for you, but then stick with that. Don't chop and change. And also, if you're able to set up a regular place at home where you do your meditation, that is very helpful. If possible, find a quiet place in your home where you can sit, and if possible, have a Buddha figure, Buddha Rupa, which is a statue of a Buddha, or if that's not possible, you could even have a picture of a Buddha or a postcard of a Buddha. The practice of meditation is to let go of I. And for that, it helps to go with an attitude of willingness to surrender myself into something greater. So having a picture of a Buddha or a Buddha Rupa in front of us and having some gratitude for that helps. And if you can get some people have resistance to bowing, but if you can bow to the Buddha image before starting meditation, again, that is very helpful because it is like the heart is willing to surrender itself for something greater. So having this regular time and a regular place is a great help because come that time, come that place, your heart is ready for meditation, when it's built in your regular routine. So that it helps to have a regular place and a regular time. Now, how long to sit for? You can start sitting for short periods. It could be 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then you can gradually build it up. And for example, in my practice, and I've done this practice for a long time, so don't expect, all of you necessarily to meditate for this long. But in our practice, we are told to do meditation for 1 hour a day. And, for some people, that may be too much because of your commitments. So be realistic. You don't have to do meditation for 1 hour. If your circumstances are such that you can only do it for 15, 20 minutes, that's fine. It's far better to do that than to stretch yourself with something that you can't really keep up with. So, and so if you do go above half an hour, so, I do meditation for an hour, then what you do is you break up the meditation period into periods which are no longer than half an hour. So, and then have a couple of minutes of break in between to just stretch the leg, get the blood flowing again, but still remain tranquil. Do not start using that break to, start doing some chores or anything else. Just stay seated where you are, but you can relax your posture, but still remain in a meditative attitude. Now, I say that we should meditate daily. I should qualify that. If we are diligent with our practice, then we should take 1 day per week off it completely. This keeps meditation fresh. It stops being a chore. So do have 1 day off per week. And also, if you establish this as a regular routine, then do have breaks a couple of times a year at least, where you take off maybe a week, 10 days off the practice completely. So this period can coincide, for example, Christmas is coming up, so it could be like Christmas holidays, so holiday time, or, when your school children are on holiday. But do take a couple of breaks in a year at least, where you don't do any meditation at all, really. So in meditation, we learn to sit completely still without moving or fidgeting. And at first, it may seem difficult, but if we bear with it, we will soon get used to it. And it is possible to stay half an hour in the posture that I'm going to show you, for half an hour completely still, without moving at all. This posture has been used for hundreds of years, and it's shown to work. So the other question that gets asked is, should you do meditation on a cushion, on a floor, or on a chair? It could be either. There is no need necessarily to sit on the cushion if you find it too difficult. What I would suggest is have a go. And in the beginning, it may be difficult, but the more we sit, the more flexibility we build, and it will become easier. So try have a go on the floor on a cushion in the postures that I'm going to show you. But if that becomes impossible, then it's completely okay to sit on a chair, and it's far better to sit well on a chair rather than awkwardly on a cushion. You can experiment and try out what works. And one thing that does help is doing exercises that increase your flexibility. So stretching exercises would help with a sitting posture, to be able to sit still for half an hour. And if anyone does yoga, that definitely helps with the sitting posture, because yoga really does make you very flexible. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to show you a video of the sitting posture, and I'll show it on the floor and on the chair. I have to apologize that this video is from the course that I did last year, and where I did the course, the room wasn't big enough, wide enough for it to show the full upper and lower body. So what the camera does is it focuses on the lower body when I'm talking about the lower body, and on the upper body when I'm talking about the upper body. So I'll just start the video, if you give me a minute. When we sit on the floor, if it's a hard floor, so I'm sitting on a hard floor actually. If you're sitting on a hard floor, you can use a couple of folded blankets or a rug to give you softness. And then I'm sitting here on, actually these are foam blocks which are used for yoga, but you don't need those. You actually need those. You could use any cushions. Basically, you just want to get a height that you can sit on, and you would need to experiment how high it needs to be. If you are, generally speaking, if you're stiffer, you might need to sit a little bit higher. So before I go into the full position, just want to explain, some people do sit cross-legged like this. Generally speaking, in Buddhist meditation, we don't sit like that because it's very difficult to keep a stable posture when the knees are in the air like this. So I'll show you the posture in a minute, where the knees are actually in touch with the ground. Right, so what we need, so when we're sitting, we need to sit in a stable posture so that we do not move about. If we are constantly fidgeting and trying to get into a comfortable position, then the mind will not settle down. Therefore, this posture is actually designed or has been tried over hundreds of years, in fact. Once you get used to it, it's possible to remain in this posture for half an hour without moving at all. And that should be the aim, to be able to sit without moving at all. Now, this is a very stable posture. If you're not used to it, it may feel awkward, but you can, as I say, you can start off with just about 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you can bear to start with, and then gradually make that period longer. Right now, I will show you the posture for the legs. So for the stability, as I said, we need to be in a stable posture. So for stability, we use 3 points of contact with the ground. So those would be the two knees on the ground, and then the back on the cushion at the back. And then what we do is we take 1 foot above the other one like this. And there we are. We've got the knees on the floor, touching the floor, so that gives stability. And then we've got the back giving the third support. Now, this posture is actually called semi-lotus. There is a lotus posture, full posture, where not only does in my case, it's the right leg over left, but also the left goes over right. I can't do it. Most people can't do it, actually. And it doesn't matter. this is good enough. And if you do this posture, then make sure you alternate which leg is on the top, sometimes the right one, sometimes the left one. So do alternate. If you find this too difficult, what is possible is also just to leave this on the floor, and that is usually much easier for people, but do try half lotus if you can. If you can get used to it, if you can build up, then that's great. And exercises stretching exercises are very good for giving us building up flexibility, and you'll find that if you do stretching exercises, it'll help with the sitting posture, and yoga is ideal for that, in fact. So if you do yoga, you should find that it's much easier for you to get into this posture. Okay, so here too, with this posture, we've got 3 points of contact with the ground, which give us stability. And another option on the floor is to sit on a kneeling posture. So we kneel on the support like this. So this is fine as well. It's called Seiza posture in Japanese. And here again, we got the knees on the ground and the back on the cushion, which gives us stability. It's a very, very stable posture. Okay, so we've now got stability at the base. Okay, so we've got stability at the base. And then what we do with the hands is right palm over left, with the thumbs touching lightly, resting on the lap. So it should be resting on the lap, so that it's not, then we're not having to support our arms. Then it's much more relaxed if it's supported on the lap. And then, as far as the rest of the posture is concerned, the spine should be straight with the natural curvature as it is, and the head follows the line of the spine. Our hands are like this, and then what we do with the head is it should be straight. We look straight ahead, and then without dropping the head, we just cast our eyes down, and we do not close the eyes. They are half open or slitted, but not closed. In Buddhist meditation, we do not close the eyes because with eyes closed, there's a tendency to go to sleep, and that does not help with meditation. Meditation needs alertness. Okay, so that's the posture on the cushion. Incidentally, so if you're doing it on a carpet, you may not need a blanket or a rug, but you have to experiment and experiment with different heights of cushion. You don't need to go out and buy anything special. Just use cushions at home. Looking ahead, without dropping the head, you cast your eyes down. Just make sure the head is not sort of dropped forwards. Quite often you do find people sort of drop the head forward, because although you might be able to bear that for about half an hour, if you were to go to retreats where you're sitting for long periods, dropping your head means your muscles in the neck are working very hard and they'll get very sore. Whereas if the head is straight, it's well supported. Okay, so I will now just switch off the camera again, and I'll just show you the sitting posture on the chair. And there's only one difference, which is just the feet. So I'll just show you that. So here again, we did a stable posture. So, and we have stable posture by having our feet apart and the feet firmly on the ground. So that, again, the feet firmly on the ground gives us the stability. So that's as far as the feet is concerned. And then the other thing that I need to tell you, if you're sitting on a chair, is to make sure that your hips are higher than your knees. And I have managed to do that by putting a couple of cushions here. So I've got this cushion, and so this is actually a wedge that you get for back, which I've covered with a cushion cover. So that's quite useful. But again, you don't need to buy it. Just a couple of cushions would do. But it's very important to have the hips above the knees, because that frees up the back, and then it's easier to straighten the back. And in fact, if I remove the cushions, and if I then try to sit on the chair where my hips are not higher than my knees, I'm actually finding it very difficult to straighten my back. So always have your hips higher than your knees. It happens naturally on the cushions, so you don't need to worry about that on the cushion. But here on the chair, you do need to make sure. And then the rest of the posture is the same. So you've got the feet firmly on the ground, and then the straight back should be straight. So I'll go back on the cushion. Okay, so feet firmly on the ground, back straight, head straight, look ahead. I know. Let me just show you my head. Head straight, and actually the camera is an angle, so you may not be able to see it quite correctly. But my head is straight, and then you look ahead and drop your eyes without moving your head. And again, the head posture is the same. Okay, so that video, hopefully everyone saw the postures for sitting on cushion and chair. And the video, this lesson, the 7th lesson of last year, is still available on the Buddhist Society website if you want to look at that. And the recording of this lesson will also be available. So or if you can't remember all the points about sitting, you can just look at the video again. So I'll start now that we are in a meditation posture. What do we do now? And what we do is we put our awareness on the breath. Now, there are many different types of meditation, particularly in Theravada. They do guided meditation where they talk you through the meditation session. But the meditation that I'm going to talk about is awareness of the breath. And that awareness of the breath is common to all the traditions, and it underpins all meditative practices. So that's the one I'm going to talk about. But as I say, you will come across guided meditation in Theravada, for example. In Zen, which is what I practice, the awareness on the breath is the only form of meditation that we do. So our awareness is placed on the breath. So when we breathe in, we're aware that we're breathing in. And then when we breathe out, we are aware that we're breathing out. So aware of breathing in and aware of breathing out. Now, to aid the awareness, what we could do is put a count on the out breath. So we breathe in, so we breathe in, and then 1, till the whole breath is out. So I said it out loud, but you say it inwardly, you don't say it out loud. So, and it really helps to really have the whole breath out and then breathe the whole breath in, because that really helps to focus on the breath. So it'll go like this. Breathe in, then 1, breathe in, 2, 3. But what actually happens is, in spite of us wanting to have our awareness on the breath, thoughts interfere. And, we might start thinking, we may not realize we've been carried away by a thought stream. But as soon as we realize that we've been thinking, we let go of the thoughts. If necessary, you can label it as thought and then let go of it, and then go back to the count. And you go back to the count of 1. So say if you reached 3 and then you started your thought process, and then you realize that you've been thinking, put a stop, let go of the thoughts, and then start back from 1. And if we get to 10, then we go back to 1, don't go beyond 10. Now this, this is how it goes. We breathe in, and then 1, 2, and then we start thinking. Today is Tuesday. This is the last week for the course. That really means I'm going to be free next Tuesday. Now, I wanted to see John and Michael for a long, long time. Next Tuesday will be the opportunity. Now, where will I meet them? And as soon as you realize you've been thinking, stop. Just label it as thought, let go, and go back to 1, count of 1. So you disengage with the thought. And do not imagine or think that you will put thoughts to an end. That does not happen. Thoughts are beyond control of I or self. So do not get upset about the fact that you continuously go into thought stream. Our task is, as soon as we recognize that we've gone into thought stream, then we let go of the thought stream and go back to the awareness of the breath. That's all that matters. Do not worry about being continuously. Say you could be continuously going into thought streams. Do not worry about that. And this count that I'm talking about, do not also worry about the count that you reach. Someday you might reach a count of 3, some other days 5. It really does not matter. It's not a goal-setting exercise. It is simply to aid awareness. And some days are going to be better, some days are not going to be better. If you've had a row with someone, then it'd be very difficult to let go of that, and maybe that meditation session may not turn out to be that good. So, it's still there's still a lot to learn within that. So, with a very slow, hard, regular practice, the mind learns to calm down and relax. And eventually, one gets to a state where one simply becomes the breathing. There is no doer and no doing. If a sound is heard, one becomes the sound. There is no sense of I breathing or I hearing. There's just awareness of the breath or awareness of the sound. And there is just flowing with what there is, awareness of the breath from moment to moment. So this develops a sense of calm, samatha. And developing this sense of calm will then give us a clue to what this no I is, where there is no self. Then, as I said, once we are established in this practice where we've learned to develop some calm, maybe after a few weeks, a few months, then we can go into the other part of the meditative process, and that is called vipassana. And the practice of vipassana can be started once one is settled into samatha, but one usually needs a teacher to guide one through vipassana. Vipassana is a process of insight, and it's very easy to misconstrue things in meditation and also our understanding of Buddhism. So that's why guidance of a teacher is necessary, and I will go on to talk about, where we go on from here. So in vipassana, in the calm that is developed, the mind is opened up to observing what is happening with any issues that we have had, or a teaching that we don't understand. So what I mean is, in the calm, we interpose, say, there's a passion that we're continuously having problems with, then we just interpose that in the calmness, and then we just let it be. We do not think through it with logical, rational thoughts. We just let it be in the calmness and be aware of that passion. And it's remarkable, but eventually insights come about as to why that passion is arising, what's causing it to arise. This, if it's something that we've struggled with for a long time, through a lifetime, perhaps, it's not something that we'll understand straight away. It just needs session after session, year after year of practice before we can come to an understanding of what that passion is about. So in vipassana, we can interpose a passion, or we can interpose a teaching that we don't understand, and just let it be. Again, don't follow it with thought, don't follow it with logical thought, because as I explained last time, logical thought is a constraint in itself. Our logical thoughts are just simply a framework that we've built up, and everything we see is through that framework. And if we just keep on seeing everything through that framework, there's a limit to what we're going to see. We're only going to see it through that framework. Whereas if we have let go of the thoughts, if we are completely open in that calmness, then there's a possibility that we will see things that we have never, ever seen before. And I can give an example. One day, I was going to the Buddhist Society, the tube station's Victoria. So I was exiting Victoria, but Victoria Station was being refurbished, and everyone was being funneled through a narrow staircase. So there was a mass of people at the bottom of the staircase, and people were just going up these stairs as best as they could. And when I was in the middle of the staircase, I heard a lady behind me shout to me, "Get out of the way, man." And she was obviously in a hurry, but she could not have gone anywhere. And something hot arose in me, does she not realize that there's nothing we can do here? There's nowhere to go, and I can't move either. But having done a bit of practice by that stage, rather than let that anger come out, it could have come out in angry words, I'd learn to contain it. So I let it contain it. And this is a passion. It's got a lot of energy, and it wants to come out. And if it can't come out in anger, because if you say we're Buddhist, we can't get angry. If that's what we say to ourselves, it'll find some other way of getting out if you're not careful. Like in just some sort of jovial, sarcastic words, for example, that's still the energy wanting to escape. So if that happens, just contain it. Just, the practice gives us the ability to contain it. So I went to the society, I was doing meditation, I contained this energy, it was boiling within me. And I sat down in meditation. And like I say, in Vipassana, I interposed that anger that I was feeling. And, I just let it be there. And remarkably, the whole situation transformed itself. Suddenly, compassion arose, and I could see that, that lady was actually just simply living in a busy city, trying to make her way, like all of us are trying to make our way in this busy city. We've got, hundreds of things to do, and that's probably what was happening to her. And then I thought, I've been in that situation many times. And then, a new scene arises, much wider than, we can work out with our reasoning. And so, there was compassion, there was understanding of the other person. And so this is how, meditation transforms our passions. And also in this process, it also opens up the teaching in that process as well, because we understand what those passions are, why they arise, how to contain them. So I will leave meditation there. As I have been promising, I will now talk about what to do from here. Now, we've done a theoretical course, and as I've said in one of the previous lessons, study and practice need to balance each other. So we really have to now start thinking about practice if we do not have an established practice. To start off, you can just start doing general meditation, and the society has many opportunities for meditation. The main one is Thursday evenings at 6:30, which is the one that I joined 30 odd years ago. And the person who was running it then, Colin Ash, is still running it. And that says something about it, because, these days, people don't stick with anything. And for Colin to have done this for 30 years and still teaching it, it gives you an idea of the solidity of that class. So there's the Thursday evenings. Now, when the pandemic, or before the pandemic, there were classes on Saturdays. They might resume Saturday afternoons. And also, we used to have lunchtime meditation at every lunchtime, Monday to Friday, giving opportunity of people nearby the society to come for meditation. So during the pandemic, those classes are just running, I believe, on Mondays or Fridays. So that's opportunity for meditation, which you can join straight away. Just make it known to the teacher if you're completely new to the meditation that you are new. If you need guidance, then you'll get guidance. With Colin's class, there's an opportunity to ask questions at the end if you're not sure of anything. Now, so as far as the main practice is concerned, what we really have to do is choose one traditional form of practice and stick with that from the beginning to the end. So it could be Theravada, it could be, it could be in Theravada, it could be Sri Lankan, it could be Thai, it could be Tibetan Buddhism, which is Mahayana, it could be Zen, it could be Pure Land. These are all the classes that the society offers. So you have to pick one and stick with it. Now, someone asked the question right at the beginning that how do you choose which tradition to pick? Now, in a way, in the West, we are spoiled because we have got all this choice and we want to know, which one works. In a way, anyone that we chose will work. But, for example, people who are born in Thailand will follow Thai Buddhism, or people from Tibet will follow Tibetan Buddhism. They don't have a choice, but we do, so we want to know. So if, certain people have done a lot of reading or have a natural affinity to one particular tradition, then just simply go to that tradition and just make sure that you're happy with it, comfortable with it, and you can carry on with it. For example, some people who've been following martial arts might be drawn to Zen Buddhism, for example. So that's fine. If you know which tradition you want to follow, or you're drawn to one, then that's fine. You don't have to pick and choose. However, if you're not sure, as I say, you should pick one tradition. But what you could do is try one particular tradition for 2 months, say, and then another tradition for 2 months. But even within those 2 months, don't mix it up. Just for the first 2 months, if you've chosen to go to Theravada class, just do Theravada class for that period. And then when you're going to try Zen, try that for a couple of months. But don't, even in that process, don't mix it up. And certainly, I would advise people to stick in the long term with one tradition, because, if we pick, say, a bit of Theravada, a bit of Tibetan Buddhism, and a bit of Zen, and make a mishmash for ourselves, it is really going to, first of all, confuse us. And secondly, it's really not going to result in too much. Whereas if you choose one tradition, you'll have guidance, and you need to do it in a group. So I'll talk about that as well. And sorry, just one qualification about not mixing the traditions. We are actually very fortunate and actually unique at the society in offering all these traditions under one roof. You're not going to find that generally anywhere. It's very rare. So what you do have is the opportunity for going to public lectures, for example, and the public lectures could be in any tradition. And there is no bar from going to those, say if you're practicing Zen, to going to talk by a Theravada monk. There's no bar to that, because if it's a subject that interests you, then do go to it. What I'm talking about is the actual practice has to be done, with that particular tradition. But you can go to the public talks, and indeed, our society journal, The Middle Way, has articles from all traditions. And one advantage of this uniqueness that we have of all the traditions under one roof is, we get to realize by interacting with other people, with other traditions, that we're really talking about the same thing. Outwardly, how Theravada is practiced, how Tibetan Buddhism is practiced, how Zen is practiced are very different outwardly. But, when we realize what the practice is getting at, we realize we're really talking the same language. So that interaction does help, but just follow one tradition. So that's the practice. And also one other thing that's available at the society is the society's summer school. So the society, when the pandemic is not on, and hopefully in 2022 next year, we will have this, we have a summer school, which is held generally towards end of August. We hire facilities of the Royal Agricultural College in Cirencester for a full week. It's a residential week. And it's actually not a retreat. It's like a semi-holiday. It's done in a semi-holiday type of environment. So, there are classes in meditation, there are talks, etc. But there's plenty of free time as well to go for walks. The food is good there as well. So it's like a semi-holiday. So it's not a retreat. And it's a nice way of finding out a little bit more about Buddhism. So there's that possibility as well. Now, how do you find a group? So if you are, following one of the traditions of the society, then, the teachers for example, for Theravada Buddhism come from Amravati. So, it naturally links you into that to that monastery. And, you can start joining in their activities gradually. So, there you have that group. So as I say, it's important to do it in a group. And, always make yourselves known to the teacher and if you're a beginner, tell them you're a beginner. If you need help, you should ask for help. So if you join one of the traditions of the society, then you naturally link into one of the groups. The Tibetan Buddhism teachers come from Jamyang, and the Zen teachers come from Zen Centre, and there are Pure Land classes from a Pure Land temple as well. So that takes care of the group. For people who are very distant from the society, there are opportunities for coming in just at weekends. For example, Zen group runs Zen Sundays, which starts mid-morning up to mid-afternoon. So if you're not very near London, but can travel to London, then that's an opportunity. And similarly for other classes as well. And if you are even more distant, indeed living in other countries, then you really have to seek out groups near you. And, do be careful. You do get some teachers who are perhaps not, ready to teach, and they still teach. What you should, the guidance I can give here is, if the monastery comes from a good pedigree, has a good lineage, good traditional lineage, that's a good plus. And if the teacher has been appointed by that particular lineage to teach, that's a good plus as well. There are many self-appointed teachers, who have decided themselves to teach, and have no pedigree to back that up, or have not given the authentication to teach. So I would be careful about those sort of teachers. And the society, for those in UK, the society publishes a directory of all the groups within UK, and you can email the society if you want to find a group near you, and they can look up a group near you. What I would say, though, that the society is very clear that the entry in the directory does not mean that the society is endorsing that particular group. The society does not have the resources to endorse, thousands of, 1,000 groups. And incidentally, that is the sort of number of groups there are within United Kingdom. So, there are a lot of opportunities to join a group. There are so many now, and I'm sure that's so with other countries too. So the society does not endorse all these groups. The only groups that the society endorses are the teachers, are the groups where their own teachers come from. For example, as I mentioned, Theravada teachers come from Amravati, Zen teachers from Zen Centre. So the society and Jamyang as well. So and the Pure Land as well. So these, as far as that is concerned, you can take it that the society has endorsed those teachers and those groups. But beyond that, just take a little bit of care. And so that is practice. As I said, study and practice do need to balance each other. And there are further theoretical courses. So the course that is after this one, Introducing Buddhism, is called The First Turning of the Wheel, where what's done in that course is we take the actual Pali canon, where Buddha's actual words are written down, and we explore one particular passage for a particular topic. So that's the development on from Introducing Buddhism. And then the next course above that is the Great Way course, and the society is planning to offer a new Great Way course beginning of 2022. So keep your eyes on the website. But having said that, what I would say is, before you go into the next theoretical course, you've got enough material to digest. So do not even think about doing the next theoretical course for a couple of years. Just do the practice, and all these teachings that we've been going through, they will open out, they'll start making more sense. And you can still revisit the course. The course videos are still available online, and this course is run 4 times a year by the society. Different teachers run it at different times, so you could choose to do it under a different teacher, the same course, Introducing Buddhism, and you'll hear it explained in a different way, so that might help. So beyond reading about Introducing Buddhism and just going over this course, I would say don't go for the next theoretical course for at least another couple of years. And then if you do the First Turning of the Wheel as the next course, then give another couple of years before you go and do the Great Way course. So that is what the society offers now. The society, the only real income for the society is people taking up memberships and donations, and that really is everything that supports the society. So if you feel you've benefited from the course and you want to support the society, then taking up membership or donating to the society will help it continue its work. And do look at the website of the society. It's full of really wonderful material. And what has happened in pandemic, we've been doing all these courses online, and they've all been recorded. So there's so much material now available online. You'll be spoiled for choice. So do explore the website. There's a lot there. And, I talked about taking up membership of the society. Beyond taking up the membership of the society, the society does not charge for any of the courses. The only one that you do pay for is the residential summer school. So if you become a member, all the classes are free. And as I say, it's unique in representing all the different traditions under one roof, which is very useful. The public lectures are very interesting. I plan to attend a lecture tomorrow called The Great Way, so I'm looking forward to that. And the society has a journal called The Middle Way, which all members get either online or a paper copy. And also you have the use of the library if you're a member. And the society is gradually introducing borrowing books digitally. There are some titles available, not a lot, but if you become a member, you have access digitally to books. So you'll get electronic copies of the book. And it works very much like borrowing a book in a library. You'll have it for a certain time, because there are rights over this book books which limit, how long you can borrow it for, etc. So with that, I think we've really come to the end of the course. I really would like to thank the staff at the society. They do a lot. They've kept the whole show running while we've been going through the pandemic, and some wonderful, wonderful things have come out of it because of the hard work of the society. So I'd like to thank Lavinia, Wengdu, and Odin for everything they put in for the society, and for standing by and helping me put on this course as well. And I'll just read out two things, or two things that the Buddha said to conclude this. Buddha said, all beings have the power and wisdom of the Tathagata. Tathagata is another name for the Buddha. So all beings have the power and wisdom of the Tathagata, only they fail to see it because of their sticky attachments. So, all of us are capable of seeing this true reality. It's not that some people can and some people can't. Everyone is capable of it. As human beings, we have that power. We have that wisdom. We just have to reveal it. It's like parting curtains and seeing the moon outside. That's all it is. And I'll read out something else that the Buddha said, and these were Buddha's last words before Buddha passed away. Impermanent are all compounded things. Strive on heedfully. So with that, we come to the end of the course, and as usual, we'll have the opportunity for asking questions. You can unmute yourself, or if you put any questions to Lavinia in chat, then she can read those out to me. And I can see Sadhana has her hand raised. So Sadhana, do you want to ask something? You'd need to unmute yourself.
Yes, it's about the meditation.
Yes.
So when you breathe in and then when you breathe out, is that when you say the number 1?
Yes. Yeah, the count is put on the out breath.
Okay.
Yeah. And on the in breath, just be aware of breathing in and just have your awareness on breathing in. And then there's a pause. There's a pause once you breathe in. Before you start breathing out, keep your awareness on the pause as well. And then when you start breathing out, then put the count and breathe out completely. That really helps in stopping the wandering thoughts. If you breathe out completely and breathe in completely, it's like it takes our attention. It anchors our awareness to the breath more easily that way.
Okay. Now, after you say 1 and you breathe out, do you do the breathe in immediately, or do I have to pause again?
Okay. Don't overthink it. Just breathe naturally in a way. In a way, it's natural breathing. So as soon as you breathe out, your body actually wants to take the breath in, and just let it take it in. So don't put any artificiality on it. Your body, it wants to breathe in and let it do it. Something else I can say here, it just reminds me, is what I've learned in Zen is when our awareness is in the body, that naturally gets rid of the thought, because our body is always aware. So what you're to think of what you're to be aware of in meditation is awareness of the body breathing. So it's not I breathing. Don't think that I am breathing in or I am breathing out. Just be aware that the body is breathing in, and just be aware that the body is breathing out, because the body is always ever present in the moment. The body is not thinking. So have the awareness on the breath, and then when you're putting the count, don't think that I am putting count. It is as if the body is breathing out, and the awareness or the count is actually meeting this awareness of the breath coming out. So it's not I counting, it's just breathing out, the body is breathing out, and the count almost like comes to greet it. That's perhaps how to look at it, rather than thinking I am breathing, I am counting. That would get in the way.
Okay, so if you cannot do this for half an hour, doing this for 15-20 minutes every day, is that sufficient? Yes,
it is. So it's far better to do what you can realistically do. If you're looking after a family, have young children, it's very difficult perhaps to find half an hour or 1 hour. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do it for half an hour or 1 hour. Be realistic. Be realistic as to how much time you can devote to it, and then stick to it. Far better than doing 1 hour one day and then not doing it the next day, or 5 minutes the next day. Okay?
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So if you can just, so we've got Emma wanting to ask a question.
Hello, Rohit.
Hello.
Thank you so much for first of all, I want to say thank you so much for your teachings and all your efforts. And I really appreciated it. So thank you. I have a question. I suppose it's quite a long question. I don't know whether it's a direct question, but it brings together a lot of what we've been talking about over the weeks.
Yeah.
And particularly around the containment of fire and passion when meditating. And it's in relation, it's a very experiential thing that's happened to me. You used an example of the transformation of the fire with a stranger in the tube station.
Yeah.
And someone recently, a relative, so a very, very close person to me, has done something that I have found very, very hurtful at a very inopportune moment, and something that, I just think was not, was very thoughtless. And so I've contained it and I've sat with it. But the fire, what's happening for me, so I'm asking for some words of encouragement, is the fire burns very strong. It's very painful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And the temptation with a stranger is easy to contain. But when it's someone that you love, there is such a temptation to want to teach or say something or ask a question. So I suppose it's, what would you say around when it's really appropriate to keep that containment, when there's a very strong internal suffering that can go round and round? It's like, and it keeps changing and transforming, but it's still there. And I can feel it now as I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
In this, I'm re-experiencing it. And when is it appropriate to say something?
Okay.
That's it, Rohit. So thank you.
Okay. That's a very useful question. And, you've done actually very well in observing that fire, because it takes a bit of practice before, we start noticing this thing. So, well done for noticing it, and also, for wanting to contain it. One thing I would say is that the practice is a very gradual one. If it is something that is very strong, and you're just at the beginning of the practice, you perhaps haven't built the strength to contain it, and also to, as you asked, to know whether there is something you can say. I mean, I would say that containing it does not necessarily mean that you can't discuss it with someone. It's very difficult to generalize. One has to speak about specifics and specific circumstances. So, but I don't want to give the idea that you can't discuss an issue with someone. So first of all, if you find it very difficult, it's understandable, because you have to start working with little things, and that develops the strength. I've talked about seeing the minor irritations and working with those. And in fact, those are perhaps more difficult to notice because they're minor, but that's where we start our work in developing the strength. Or it could be something like we don't like doing, so that's something very easy to observe, and then we contain that, and if it's something we have to do, then we do it with that fire still burning, and that builds a strength. So that's how we start working with it. And when it's something major, a major fire burning, and it keeps on burning continuously, as I say, it is difficult till you build the strength. So what I would advise is, well done for containing it. If you failed at some point, say, then don't get too upset with yourself, because you're still learning. You're still learning to contain the fire. So don't get upset with yourself if there is some failure. And if at this point, if you feel it is right to discuss the issue with the person, then do discuss it, because the reason why I say it is eventually that would not be necessary either, because there is some clarity that comes in. So what meditation is doing is not only giving us strength, but it is also giving us clarity for a situation. And then with that clarity, sometimes it becomes unnecessary even to discuss it, because it'll clarify itself. So do give yourself permission, if you at this stage, if you need to, open a discussion. But if it's making you angry, then don't let that run away in a discussion. Just be very measured, contained. So at the introductory level, that's what I would say. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, it does. And I actually, what I wanted to hear from it, because I have been meditating for some time, I think, which is why I asked the question, but it's the containment, because things do transform. So in a way, it feels safer and more energetically safe to not say something and to transform it in me, and allow that person.
Sorry, lost your sound.
That's what it feels. The safe.
Sorry, say that again. I lost your sound.
I'm sorry. It just feels safer to contain it for me and allow the energy to transform in me, and trust that the energy will transform for that person too. And that feels like the safest way. I don't really want to have to say anything, because I don't want to get into, I know this person. They have, I don't want to get into a ping pong and an argument and why and well, you've always been, I can feel it, so it feels safer to contain. And I wanted to hear you say that.
Yeah. And also something else that is useful in Buddhist meditation, we find out it's never, ever anything to do with objects or people outside. It's always to do something with us. Yes. We always discover that, no matter how angry we get with someone and we feel that that person should not have done this and this and that, when we really meditate on it, we really come to the realization it's really something to do with us. And that is something that you might discover eventually. It's not so. This is actually a valuable thing to sort of takeaways to say. The problem is never out there. The problem is never out with the objects or the people. It's always to do with us. It's always to do with how we look at things and how that needs to transform. That's what Buddhism teaches us, and it's really that has really stood me in good stead. Just that realization itself.
Yes, thank you. That is very powerful. The problem is always how we look at things, and I do know that. But sometimes, as you say, with it, one needs reminding when one is on one's own, and to hear you speak about it, it just encourages, endorses, helps promote that. So thank you.
And incidentally, that's the reason why it's important to be part of a group under a teacher, because again, you get this reinforcement when you need it.
Thank you so much, Rohit. Thank you so much. Really.
Good. Okay. Any other questions?
Hello. Yes.
Yes. Hello.
First of all, thanks so much for this amazing course, Rohit. We've got lots of thankful messages here in the chat. From our participants, and I've also got some questions. The first one is asking if you could show again the hand postures during meditation.
Okay, the hand posture. So because I don't have a camera, I'll just sort of do it. Hopefully you can see it here. So right palm over left with the thumbs touching. I hope you can see it on the screen. So right over left, thumbs lightly touching. I hope you can see it. And then it should be resting on the lap. So don't let it hang loosely in front of you, because your arm muscles will get tired. Right over left, thumbs touching. And incidentally, this video will be available online within a week or so, if you look at the Buddhist Society website, so you can go over it again, because it's quite a lot to take in as far as the sitting posture is concerned, and I don't expect everyone to have taken it all in one go, so you'll be able to see the video again, or also the video from last year's course is still on the society website. So if you go to the landing page of the society, there are various styles, and there's a course introducing Buddhism that I did last year, which is still there, and the 7th talk has that video as well. So you can look at that again. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much, Rohit. The next question reads, can you please give a very brief explanation of the different disciplines, or is that something I need to research? Also, I am keen for this not to be a religion, and I know you have referred to Buddhism as a religion. Am I okay to see it as a way of life rather than a religion? Thank you so much.
Well, as far as the differences between the various traditions are concerned, it really would take far too long, and I won't be able to go through it. But by exploring some of the material available online, you'll be able to see how the other traditions practice. As far as the question of whether it's a religion or a way of life, some people prefer to call it philosophy. I would give my personal example. When I started off, it did not feel like religion to me. It was just another activity that I did, like I'd go to a gym, I went for my Buddhism, and it didn't feel like religion. But as I went into more and more and more, not consciously, just by itself, it turned around and it became a religion. Now, what's the difference between religion and just a way of life? Well, religion is going beyond beyond myself, surrendering myself to something greater. And that's the essence of religion. And until unless someone is willing to do that, I don't think they will get to the depths of Buddhism. So, to say that it's a way of life, or to say that it's a philosophy that I will live by, is to limit it. And we are limiting it. Again, I've been talking about how we limit ourselves with a framework or intellectual framework. And that's what will limit it, because there is no impulse to lay yourself down. Laying yourself down and the other side opening is not something I can do myself. It's something that happens by itself. It's like a grace opens up. That's a religious process, and that won't happen until and unless the thing itself transforms into religion. So, why do people sometimes have doubts about calling themselves, saying that they follow a religion? Sometimes it's to do with rituals and superstitions and things like that, and they feel that they're above it all. But in Buddhism, you have to explore it for yourself. You don't have to accept anything anyone is saying, not even Buddha. If it makes sense for you, then you take one more step, and you take one more step. So you may start off thinking of it as a way of life, but eventually, when you take one more step and one more step, if the thing makes sense to you, and if you keep on making those steps, it will transform into religion. And if you do give yourself wholeheartedly into it, which is, what will be demanded, then it really will open out into something beyond, our intellectual capacity, something wonderful, something beautiful, which you cannot know until, that grace opens up. So, if you want to think of it as a way of life, by all means do, but keep on exploring, but keep an open mind, and if you find that, you're taking one step after another, and you do want to take one step after another, just do it, and things will transform themselves. It won't be just a way of life anymore. It won't be a philosophy anymore. It'll be something wonderful.
Thank you, Rohit, for that answer. I find that I regard the Buddha's teaching as common sense. It's better to be compassionate than the opposite.
Yeah.
However, I still regard it as an act of faith to believe that everybody has a good Buddha nature. As an act of faith. There's no real evidence for that, but I believe it, and that's very helpful.
Okay, yeah. So keep on exploring it till you come to examine that particular point and see what you discover. And as Buddha said, don't take my word for it just because I say so, and obviously you're doing that. So yeah.
But it is an act of faith, isn't it, to believe everybody hasn't Buddha nature?
It's not blind faith. It's some religions do demand blind faith. It's not blind faith. It is faith that comes along with confidence that it is taking me in the right direction. So it's not blind faith. But there is a point when that turns into faith, in the sense that we have so much confidence in it that we are willing to let it open out, and it opens out by itself.
Yes.
And that's faith.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Are there any more questions, Lavinia?
Yes. So the next question is asking, can I ask when the Buddhist celebration are and how we should celebrate these?
Okay, so Buddhist celebrations differ in different traditions. Theravada, although I know Theravada very superficially, since I've not been practicing it, has Vesak, which comes around springtime, where all like Buddha's birth, enlightenment, everything is celebrated at the same time. I'm not quite sure or aware of what the Tibetan holy days are. In the tradition that I follow, December 8th is marked as the day that Buddha attained enlightenment, and the week before that is a very auspicious time in Buddhist in Zen monasteries. There's a very rigorous retreat for a week before, which culminates with a night sitting on straddling the nights of 7th and 8th, because it was during the night that Buddha obtained enlightenment. So it is to mark that. It culminates with a night sitting, all night, that is, just like Buddha. So that's Buddha's enlightenment. Buddha's birth date in Zen is on 8th April. And Buddha's parinirvana, which is the day Buddha passed away, is 15th February. So these are the dates in Zen calendar, but it differs in different traditions. And I suppose it does so because historically, we don't have rigorous records, and so somehow, over time, this is transformed as it's gone to different countries, different cultures, as to when these things are celebrated. Okay.
Thank you so much, Rohit.
Yeah.
Do we have time for another question?
Okay, because it's the last lesson, I'll carry on for a few more minutes. And, if people want to leave, they're welcome to, but I'll just answer a few more questions since it's the last opportunity for people to ask questions.
Thanks so much. So the next question is asking, do you find yourself automatically where you stop counting breaths and start to think of things like the example you gave in the underground?
Yes. So first of all, you have to have a certain amount of calmness where thoughts are not interfering so much. And then in that calmness, you interpose that. And yes, you are aware that that's what you're doing, that in your awareness, in your calmness, you interposed that particular issue. So you're aware that that's what you have done, but then you don't follow it, like following in a logical fashion. In other words, you don't think it through, you just let it be, and then it opens out.
Thank you, Rohit, and thank you very much for the course.
Pleasure. Lavinia, are there many questions, or how many questions are there?
For the moment, I can only see one more.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
I live in Canada. Could you please explain how to check lineage of monastery? What are some keywords for me to look for?
So, if you are exploring their websites of groups near you, they will generally have a section on how they have come about or been set up in Canada. And usually they will say that they're linked to, say, a Theravada tradition or a Tibetan tradition. And it might link itself to a particular monastery in Tibet, not in Tibet anymore, in India, for example, as far as Tibetan Buddhism is concerned, or a Theravada monastery in Sri Lanka or Thailand. If it's linked, the person who is its head or abbot has been trained through that original tradition, where a teacher from that original monastery handed it down to someone, and then it's been handed down to someone else, and then that history actually says that, that's a good sign, actually. So that's one thing I can say. No, there are no particular words I can think of that make it that would be universal. I think you'd have to use your own judgment. But look at history, look at how they came to be set up, look at the person who is running it, who's the teacher, where he trained, and does it eventually link back to a traditional teacher or a traditional monastery? That's the clue, really. And then when you go there, still, use your judgment. There's no hard and fast rules there. Okay, so Lavinia, I believe that's the end of the question. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. Many more messages thanking you for this great class.
Okay.
And course, sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for that, and thank you for attending and staying on right till the end. I really appreciate that, and I wish you all joy and warmth on walking the Buddha's path.